Hello friends, welcome back to the Python programming session. In the earlier session, to understand the decorator concept, we had looked into function as first class objects. So in this session, to understand more on the decorators concept, let's move on to the LEGB rule. So friends, what does LEGB stand for in Python programming language? L stands for local variable, E stands for enclosed variables, G stands for global variable, and B stands for built-in variables. So whenever we write a program, in order to know which variable is being accessed, we have to first understand the LEGB concept. So what does local variable do? Local variables are defined inside the function, inside the local function. Its scope is only within the function in which it has been defined. So once we try to access the variable outside the function, we get an error. We end up in error. So its scope is only within the function in which it has been defined. Secondly is the enclosed variables. What are enclosed variables? Suppose we have two functions, that is one function inside another function. So the outer function is called as the enclosing function, and these variables are also called as non-local variables. That variables defined in the outer function are also called as non-local variables. Thirdly is the global variables. These are defined at the beginning of the program and can be accessed in the entire program. Fourthly is the built-in variables. These are the variables which are built in Python programming language like pi, epsilon. They are built-in variables. So now let's look into this diagram which tells us how we can access the variables. So firstly is the built-in variables, then the global, then the enclosing and the local. So local is at a lower level, built-in is at a higher level. When we in the local function, we can access the local variables, that is the variables defined within the local function. We can also access the outer function variables, that is the enclosing variables. We can also access the global variables that are defined in the program and the built-in variables as well. So at the lower level, we can access all the variables, that is built-in, global, enclosing and even local. And at the outer function, in the outer function, that is in the enclosing function, we cannot access the local variables. So whatever is defined in the local function variables, they cannot be accessed in the enclosing function. And in the program, we cannot access enclosing and local variables. So the program cannot access enclosing and local variables. So these concepts, let's look into it practically. So now let me say I have two functions def. Outer is my enclosing, it's the outer function. Within the outer function, I am having another inner function. So friends, there are two functions. Inner is an local function and outer is called an enclosing function because it is enclosing the inner function. So outer is called as the enclosing function. So now initially let us give it as pass. Let me give pass. Let me not write anything. And let the outer function call the inner function. And here let's call the outer function. So since we have not given any values, when I call the outer function, it just passes, it does not perform any operations. So there is no output. Now in the program, let me say my x is equal to 10. So x is a global variable. It is defined in the program. Above the function we are defining x, which is a global variable. So here x is a global variable. And in this enclosing function, let me define y equal to 20. And in the local function, let me define z equal to 30. So friends, here x is a global variable, y is an enclosing variable, and z is the local variable. And as we have seen already, local function can access local, enclosing, global and built-in variables. So now if I say print z, it prints the value 30 because z is present within the local function. We can access the value. Can we access the enclosing function value, that is y, within the local access? So when I say within the local function, when I say print y and run the code, yes, I can access it. So within the local function, we can access the local variables, the enclosing variables. Now let's see if we can access the global variables. And x. Now when I print, yes, within the local function, we can access the local variables, the enclosing variable and even the global variables. So this we have covered. That is, at the local level can access local, enclosing, global and built-in variables. Now let's move on to the enclosing level. They can access the global variables, but they cannot access the local variables. So this is the enclosing level, the outer function. And now if I say print z, that is the local variable. Local variable z I am trying to access in the enclosing function. Now when I run the code, I get an error. I get an error that name z is not defined. Because it is a local variable, its access is within the local function. We cannot access it in the enclosing function. Now in the enclosing function, if I try accessing the global variable, I will not get any error because it is accessible within the global variables are accessible within the enclosing level as well. So now when I run the code, I get the value 10. So in the enclosing level, I am able to access the global variables. Now let us come outside these two functions, that is the outer and the inner, and within the program, let me try accessing the local variable z. Let me delete this also. So I get a name error telling z is not defined because its access is only within the local function, that is the inner function. Outside the function, it cannot be accessed. Now let me try accessing the enclosing variable outside the function. So when I run this, I again get a name error telling y is not defined because enclosing variables cannot be accessed in the program. They can be accessed only in the local function and the enclosing function. So hope so this is clear for you friends. Enclosing function cannot access local variables and global cannot access enclosing and local variables. Having covered this, now let's make our variable. I am having three variables x, y, z. Now let's make everything equal to x. So when a global variable, local variable and an enclosing variable and a local variable all have the same variable name, that is x, then which value will get printed? Depending on the scope, that is whether it's a local scope or enclosing scope or global scope, depending on that the value gets printed. Now let me delete this. In the local function, if I say print x, then which value will get printed, whether it's 10, 20 or 30. It prints 30 because at the local level, local variable have got higher precedence. So it prints 30. Now at the end, now let me delete this. And now at the enclosing level, let me try to print x. Now when I run the code, I get 20 because at the enclosing level, the enclosing variable gets higher precedence. So now let me delete this and let me come out of the come out of the function and print x outside the function. Then the global variable gets higher precedence. So it prints 10 on the console. So when the global, enclosing and local variables have the same variable name, at the local level, local variable value gets printed. At the enclosing level, enclosed variable gets printed. And at the global level, at the program level, the global variable gets printed. Hope so friends, it is clear for you. And now suppose if I say print and I give x, it is at a local level, so the value 30 gets printed. Now let me comment out this statement. Let me comment it out. And then when I run, since at the local level x is not present, it takes the enclosing value, that is 20. And now let me comment out the enclosing level value also. So the locally, it will first check if x is present locally. No. It checks if x is present at the enclosed level. No. So it takes x at the global level, the value of x at the global level. So it prints 10. Even at this level, if the value is not present, then it will check in the built-in level. In the built-in function, in built-in variables, if the value is found, then it will print that particular value. Otherwise, it will print none. Hope so friends, it is clear for you. The local variables, the enclosed variables, the global variables and the built-in variables. If you have any doubts, please do reach to me out in the comment section. If you like my video, click on the like button and please do subscribe to get notifications of my new videos.